Hello, world, and welcome to Pardon the Politics Season 2, Episode 1. New year, new season, new episode.
We back. Season 2.
We are back. I am your co-host, Jeezy, along with, as always, my partner in politics, Manny. What's good, brother Manny?
Man, we made it to the new year. We made it to the new season.
Yes, sir.
Ready to hop into what FAFO Season 1 is going to hit for.
Yes, sir. Indeed, man. We are on the cusp of Season 1 of FAFO, but we here at Pardon the Politics are so excited for Season 2 to kick off. It's a new year, so new season, and we are so excited to be back with you. So shout out to our listeners. Thank you for tuning in to Episode 1. Hope you guys had a good New Year, New Year's Eve. Hopefully you were able to see the ball drop, and if not, if you saw the back of your eyelids drop, that can count as the ball as well too. So I know some people don't make it to midnight. Let me tell you, we almost didn't either.
We almost didn't make it either. I didn't get that kids, 3 o'clock nap.
Look, I didn't either, brother. We were hurting, but the kids kind of kept us up, and we were able to spend some time together with our families together, and we had a great time, and we are now ready to kick off the episode. So with that being said, man, there's already in 2025
immediately,
bruh, did not wait whatsoever. But before we get into the chaos of what has already transpired here in 2025, we want to start first with our first topic, remembering the legacy of the former president, Jimmy Carter. As you are aware, President Carter did pass away this past week, and just want to highlight
100, man.
Let me tell you,
that's long years, man.
That man has seen a lot of things come and go, and let me tell you, that is if you live to be that long, man, that is just a blessing within itself. So, and he fulfilled his promise that he said he was going to be here long enough to vote for Vice President Harris, and he did so. Unfortunately, he did not see her make it into the seat, but
and quite frankly,
he wasn't going to.
Neither did the rest of us.
But nonetheless, he again, a beautiful life to have lived for 100 years. So we just want to highlight a little bit of his legacy for those of you that don't know. And we're telling our age, and our age is that we're still young, but we were not living during the presidency of President Carter. He was our 39th president of the United States, which was between 1977 and 1981. So I'm gonna let Manny just do a little highlighting of what his presidential achievements or failures were during his time as a one-term president of the United States.
Yeah, I think that is a big call out almost immediately, that he did only serve one term.
Yeah,
he was in there. He said, I'm here for a good time, not a long time. Well, maybe he didn't say that. Reagan came through and said, hey, you're not here for a long time.
Came through with a sweep. And for our listeners to know that Carter served one term, and it was not against, it was on his own accord. He was voted out. It wasn't like a Biden situation where he decided to step down after one term. He was not successful in re-election.
And Reagan beat the dog breaks off of him. It is still one of the most dominant electoral college maps that I have seen.
That's what I was just about to say. Is this known as one of the worst political butt whoopings that American history has ever seen?
It's got to be. It's, to my knowledge, it is.
Yeah.
President Reagan got 489 electoral college votes, and Jimmy Carter got 49. Ooh. And he won Georgia, West Virginia, and Minnesota.
Bruh.
But he took a mean L. A very mean L.
So I think from just that evidence, again, we weren't alive during that process, but I'm assuming that his presidential term was not highlighted as the best.
Not great. It was not great. I think if you look at the country as a whole, it was a time of global trauma. We had the start of the whole energy crisis and the big push to get everyone off of fossil fuels because
Yeah.
you were getting the crazy lines at gas stations, people waiting 2 and 3 hours because you had OPEC throwing their weight around. And look, the presidency is hard. It's hard,
Yeah.
and you got lots of challenges. But he was able to do a lot of things. Some of the main things, big on human rights advocacy, and this not only during his presidency but his post presidency. He really prioritized human rights and criticize people who were going against them, regardless of their Cold War alignment. So if he didn't like what you were doing, he was going to call you out for it.
Yeah.
Big pressure in that around South Korea and Argentina and other authoritarian allies to reform. And some places it worked, and some places it didn't work.
Yeah.
The next big achievement he had was the Camp David Accords, and that was really just kind of a peace treaty between Egypt and Israel. And people will even say from that it is those initial accords, those agreements that really helped lay the groundwork about what peace could look like in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Domestically, he was the person who established the Department of Energy. So it's not, again, we look at Trump with the Department of Governmental Efficiency. It's not uncommon that presidents create new departments. But he was one of the first to really push for solar energy. He had solar panels installed on the White House during his time. And then when Reagan got in, I believe they were taken out.
Ripped them right off the roof.
He's like, yep. And then he was also big on the environment. He protected over 100 million acres of Alaskan wilderness to protect it from drilling and other types of development. But also you have factoring in is during this time there was high inflation, bad unemployment, the energy crisis. So the confidence of the American people wasn't really with him. Then you also tap in on top of all of this from 79 to 81, you had the Iran hostage crisis where they had 52 Americans captive for 444 days.
Yeah. And I remember hearing about that, and that was the way that he handled that was not received well by the American people.
No,
not at all.
It was not. It was not. And one of the big things that I would say probably eventually, led up to some of his demise in office is a speech that he gave to the American people where he was basically like, y'all need to chill out. Y'all need to stop buying things. Y'all need to stop being so materialistic. And if we just stop doing all of that, we would be more in control. You wouldn't have to depend so much on OPEC. We wouldn't have to depend on, and if you look at it today, we're having some of those same arguments. If you look at the whole tug of war that we're having with Taiwan and China over their semiconductor production. Yeah. So, it was not a long presidency, but it happened. It happened. He's very well known, and people said it almost immediately. He was a far better citizen than he was a president. And I think he said it himself. I think when he was out on the campaign trail, he was like, after I'm done in office as president, I'm just going to step back in and be a citizen. And I think that's what he did, largely with what he did post office.
Yeah, and I think that to the point that you make, that is what a lot of people, when it comes to the legacy of Carter, again, like you stated, his presidency wasn't viewed as the best at all and really took place during a difficult time. But the legacy of Carter, the highlights, the bright moments of his legacy really were his post-presidential contributions. He founded the Carter Center in 1982, and it focused on advancing human rights and promoting democracy and combating diseases worldwide. And the Carter Foundation that he had, there was a story that I heard recently where Vice President, I mean, not Vice President, excuse me, President-elect Trump had came out and been very critical of Carter and the things that he had done. And Carter kind of called him up and ended up meeting Trump. And the first thing that he says to Trump was that, I'm glad that we're having this meeting because I would like for you to make a significant contribution to the Carter Foundation and the Carter Center. And Trump said from that moment, he saw how this guy was able to become president. He's done great work with Habitat for Humanity, with participating in building homes for those in need, demonstrating his dedication to success and community development. Again, like you said before, that citizenship, not just, even though, he could have been very disgruntled about the one presidential term that he had, and he could have just faded into the black, but you see that the things that he was very serious about and very adamant about in his presidency, he continued to do the work further after he he was in office and became a citizen, even down to in 2002, he was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts in finding peaceful solutions in international conflicts and advancing democracy and human rights. So again, just presidency wasn't the best, but the beautiful thing about his legacy is the work that he had done after, and to me that's very inspiring. Because a lot of people think that, okay, once you're in the position of power, you do these things. And once you don't have the power, then it's like, okay, well, you don't, you can just fade to black. You don't have to worry about doing it. It's not as important of a thing. But to see that this man made his life legacy of what he did after the fact is just how we're supposed to be. As I think
as people,
it's the definition of what I believe being American is: continuing to care in spite of the fact, in spite of what he was viewed as a president. Continuing to do the work to uplift and provide for the American people that may not have the rights that they should, making sure they're promoting democracy. And you think about how the question of democracy comes up now and how people say that democracy is fragile now. And, knowing that there is a person that no matter what side of the coin you fall on, he wanted to promote that democracy is American. This is what America is. And doing that work up until, I would say, until he couldn't anymore from a health perspective. And even his foundation still going on, and the Carter Center still going on after he has now passed, just as a testament to his dedication to his country. So, with him passing away, despite how you feel about Carter's presidency, I think that he should be revered as being a true American that did care and try his best. I think sometimes when we look at presidents too, we think that, when it didn't go too well, that they don't care about America. And I don't think that's the case. Sometimes, man, you think you make the right decisions, and sometimes you, like you say, man, hindsight is 2020. Like, probably didn't work out the way that they should, but it doesn't mean that the person didn't care, didn't have the thought of the American people at mind, at heart when he made these decisions. And I think President Carter is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I think he's from a time in politics that I think we long to get back to, where the number one rule was assume no harm.
Yeah.
Assuming that no one here is actively trying to destroy anything. And I think that's why he's revered. And will be revered in hindsight, because he was the president that, again, post office that would help go and negotiate, peace treaties, try to get Americans free across the globe, and actually putting feet on the ground to do that. So the one thing I'll land on wrap up, it's not often we get a presidential, death and the pomp and circumstance that's surrounding that. So there's a lot going on. If you're listening to this and it's Monday, President Carter is still lying in repose at the Carter Presidential Center for the public to still pay their respects. Starting Tuesday on January 7th, that's when they'll start the trip from Georgia over to D.C. Carter will lie in state at the U.S. Capitol from Wednesday, January 8th, all the way until January 9th. January 9th is the big state funeral. The stock market will be closed in honor of Carter, so all that will take place on Thursday. And then they'll eventually fly him back home. He's going to be ultimately laid to rest next to his wife, Rosalind Carter. So, from to the Carter family and Carter himself, thank you for your service to America.
Yes, sir.
And, your service post office, 100 years is a fantastic life. And it's, from all accounts that I've read, it sounds like it was a life well lived. So rest, good sir. And
yes, sir. Take your rest, brother.
Condolences to the family as they begin this now transition into this world without President Carter.
Yes, sir. Indeed. So with that being said, we will move on to our next topic. And once we got into 2025 and the ball dropped, boy, did the ball drop. Instant chaos, man. Instant chaos. So not too long after the ball dropped, a couple of hours, actually around 3:15, there was an incident that happened on New Year's Day. And there were actually two, but incidents, yes, that happened. But we'll start with the first one that happened in New Orleans. So in the early hours of January the 1st, a 42-year-old U.S. Army veteran, which I'm not going to slaughter his name, but I will say Jabbar, his last name, drove a pickup truck into a crowd on Bourbon Street in the French Quarter, which resulted in approximately, I believe, 15 fatalities
deaths
and injuring dozens. And the attack lasted approximately 2 hours, which was from 4:15 a.m. to 3:17 a.m. Man, an instant just disaster. Just as soon, I mean, we're only 3 hours into the new year, and we're hit with something. And there has been a lot of circulation online of video footage. I saw one a couple of days ago of actually showing when he started the attack, and he's just driving down the road, very normal, and then it's just he hooks this right, and bam, he's into it. So there's been a lot of investigating going on with this. It was reported that Jabbar, who had converted to Islam, had recorded videos pledging his allegiance to ISIS prior to the attack, and he initially had planned to harm his family, but
his wife and kid, right?
Yeah. He was planning to actually take out his family, but chose to target strangers to draw attention to what he described as a war on non-believers. So, man, this
is. First, I think my entire thought was, how could this have been avoided? Yeah. I think the first thought truly in my mind was, how did a car get onto Bourbon Street on New Year's Eve?
And we've both been to New Orleans, and both have been, to the French Quarter and Bourbon Street, and this is not something that is normal at all. So when I heard it, I'm like, how in the world did a pickup truck even get on Bourbon Street? And I think they reported that. I guess there was a malfunction with the barriers and whatnot. And, again, still, I hate when these things happen and it's always something that normally would have been in place, but somehow it wasn't, and the ball got dropped. And, and on, like you said, man, one of the biggest days of the year. If it's gonna work any day, it needs to work today.
Well, and think about where New Orleans is as a city. Just like right now for the next couple of weeks. Yeah, they had New Year's. People come to New Orleans. They had the Sugar Bowl the next day, and they got the Super Bowl down there. Like, if there is no time for your security to be top tier, it's now. Yeah. So to hear in retrospect now, everyone who's come out is like, we gave them this report. We called out that this was going to be an issue here, and we called out this is going to be an issue here. Why did we sit on all that? Yeah. And all of that needs to be taken and will be handled obviously politically, because it sounds like not only will people lose their jobs by just being fired, it sounds like there's going to be people who lose elections over this. And, I can't say I fault anyone for voting against the leadership that was in place when this is called. But so that's one piece. So let's bucket all that up and put it in its own box. But then you have the separate piece of the fact that Homeland Security had come out and said, hey, y'all keep your head on a swivel for New Year's. We could have some issues here, especially with people and automobiles. So I'm kind of like, were y'all listening to the Department of Homeland Security?
Right.
Like, but then on top of that, you have this issue around veteran health.
Yeah. Oh,
veteran mental health. And I think you see it in both of these situations. We'll hop more into it in a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I think once I found out the person was in the military, that's what popped in my head. I was like, these men and women see and encounter and deal with some of the worst things in humanity. And then we expect them to get out of the military and just be able to clearly slide back into civilian life.
Yeah.
That's not realistic. We need to, as a country, just all decide like, hey, yeah, this is not a normal reaction. This is not a normal, we have to do something different here. But you said other video that I saw is the police look to move really, really fast.
Oh yeah,
because this could have got real. This could have got real bad, real fast.
I would definitely say that needs to be commended because I've seen the same video as well. And once this thing seemed to had taken place,
moving.
I mean, I've seen video. Cops are like hauling tail down the street to get to where this was taking place, and obviously it's you can tell so because this attack only lasted, and I know 2 minutes is a long time, but this man could have been down there 10 minutes. He could have been down there 15 minutes before he was stopped. So, though we extend our condolences to the families that were affected in this incident in New Orleans, this certainly could have been a lot worse.
Far worse.
So I think also too, when you look at this, they were saying that, and to your point about this mental health thing, man, for veterans, I have an aunt that was in the Army, and she graduated. Now, granted, she didn't go to war, but she graduated high school at 18, went in the military, and then she retired at like 50 something. So a long time of being in the military. And I remember having conversations with her and my mother, and just for her, now she's not been in war or anything, but just for her to had been in the military and had done things in the way that the military does it for so long, her being a civilian now was a serious adjustment for her. And it took her a while to be used to how the world works outside of being out of the military. So I can just imagine if she struggled with not having to be in combat, not having to be to deal with some of these things that some of these soldiers have seen and experienced and been through. If she struggled, I can see exactly how it could be a very serious issue mentally for these individuals to come back in. I can even speak to about my father. My father was in the Vietnam War, and I can remember just how until he was able to receive help from the government, how rough it was for him. And for our servicemen to do the things that they do, just seeing how hard it was for him to come back home and get the help that he needed. I don't know dates, but you guys know when the Vietnam War ended, or you can look it up. But I was like a senior in high school, so I'm talking like 2005, 2004, 2005, when my dad finally got like the serious amount of help he needs. That's a long time.
That's a super long time
to be out as a civilian who is not right mentally.
Expecting with a public perception of this person should just act like this.
Yeah. And to see that this is so there's a lot of conversation, and oftentimes it's a soft spot for me when I hear people talk about how they support our troops and support our veterans, and then you have people that you see that the government makes it almost impossible for them to get the help that they need. So a lot of them just quit. trying to get it,
Right.
and then they end up doing extreme things, whether it be abuse, addiction, suicide, homicides. It could really turn left really quick, and it shouldn't be that way. And I bring that up because it was investigated that he had this guy Jabbar, when they looked at his travel history, he had took a month-long trip to Egypt back in 2023. And they're determining that this was the potential connection to how he got kind of hooked onto this extremist group, how he got it dedicated to ISIS to a point where he was like, basically he kind of
he got radicalized.
He was radicalized. He was on that level. It was first announced that they thought that he may have not acted alone, but then it was later cleared up that the FBI did believe that he acted alone. But again, just terrible, man. Just terrible.
Because they found bomb making stuff at the man's house. So it's like, this could have been like worst case scenario. Let's say he could have driven up and it was I believe it was a Ford Lightning. So you got the giant battery under it.
Yeah.
If he would have been able to rig a bomb in there, that would have gone off, that eventually would have gone after that battery after enough heat.
Yeah.
Now, again, I'm not an expert in cars. This is just how my brain works and how thermodynamics works in my brain. But eventually, enough heat in that battery would have caused something to happen. So this could have been far, far worse. But I think it shows, and it kind of reminds us here in the U.S. that we're not, we're not exempt from having these kind of things happening here.
Yeah.
So vigilance is always important. Now, if I was on Bourbon Street, would I have probably been in the state of mind to been like, there's missing traffic pylons here. I don't know if we should go out. Probably not. That's not me.
Maybe before you had one or two of those
first hand grenades. Yep.
Then maybe you'd be like, hey, something's not up here. But something's missing. This street shouldn't be this wide open.
Right.
But, again, and I believe they moved fast. And like you said, they had the Sugar Bowl, and then now they have the Super Bowl. And I think they have moved pretty quick to try to open Bourbon Street back up. I won't talk about it much in detail. I was a little bothered around the media.
Come on out, y'all. We good. Everything's good. Y'all come back out here.
And I kind of was bothered by Representative Kennedy as well too. I felt like he kind of took a moment to kind of flex his political muscles a little bit, to try to use the moment to maybe benefit him a little bit. And I didn't necessarily agree with that. That's my personal opinion. But I just felt like that he kind of, in the way that he kind of used this moment, or is using this moment, I feel like is a bit insensitive. Even down to, like you said already, opening the street back up and, oh no, it's good. I mean, it wasn't even like 24 hours if I'm not mistaken. Oh, we got a game to play. People came to watch football, and it's like 15 people died on that street last night.
Right.
Like, nah.
I think we also saw immediately Trump come out and say, hey, this is about illegal terrorism. And then there was all the rumors about how the truck was across the border and they brought it back. Like,
yeah, bro.
Wait for some reporting, man.
And see, that's what, and I think I brought up the conversation to you in the group chat, and I won't expound on it too much, but I feel like from a media perspective, we need to be careful how we use the word terrorist. And the reason why I say that is because of what you just stated. There was so much going on around about, okay, he drove the truck over the border and came over to New Orleans, or, oh, he drove from Canada and came down and did this. And, then people kind of take the word terrorist and point it to one group of people and demonize a certain group of people who are not associated with this radicalization at all. It even came out that he wasn't, he's a U.S. citizen born in Texas, but the report was already out there. Oh, he's a terrorist. And so then or not we, but people equate terrorists to one specific group of people. So that's why I'm kind of the thought of we need to have a difference between a terrorist and a domestic terrorist. Someone who was born here that commits a terrorist act. I believe that it was some of the school shootings that we have seen. They have deemed some of these as investigating them as a terrorist attack. Well, when you use the word terrorist, you don't think about a white kid.
No.
Now, so I think it needs to be some type of distinction.
We've seen already with Luigi in New York being charged for terrorism. Yeah. So,
but that's just my thought, but I'm not gonna harp on it too much. I just think that the media has to be careful how we push that narrative, because there are some people, and we've seen it before, where you go out here and say the word terrorist, and now Islamic communities are attacked by U.S. citizens because of this word. So I think it should be used a little carefully. But on the same day, we had another attack that happened and took place in Las Vegas. So on the same day, and I'm probably gonna butcher his last name, but Matthew Livlisberger, a 37-year-old active duty soldier, was found deceased in a rented Tesla Cybertruck outside of Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas. The vehicle contained fireworks and explosive, which detonated, injuring 7 bystanders, and he died from a self-inflicted gun shot wound prior to the explosion. Now, this gentleman was a decorated Green Beret, and was identified through his distinctive tattoos. That's how they were able to identify him out of the carnage that took place, which included a large U.S. flag that he had. And his family suggested he did not intend to harm others, though his presence of explosive indicated otherwise. So, again, another individual, and I think going back to the point that you stated, Manny, about mental health with our veterans, it was authorities that actually started investigating and see what their potential link between Livlisberger and Jabbar, noting similarities such as their use of the same vehicle sharing app in military backgrounds. What's it? The app, is it Toro?
Boy, let me tell you.
If I'm them, I'm canceling every reservation for the next 30 days. We need to chill.
And not to be selfish here, or even sound, but Toro is in a pickle, because now what do you do? You know, all Toro's largely is Airbnb for cars.
Yeah.
So now you have 2 separate instances of someone renting a vehicle from you and then using that to commit a felonious activity. Think about the guy in New Orleans who was just turns on his TV and sees his Ford Lightning with the license plate sitting on Bourbon Street. Mortified. Wow. Absolutely and completely mortified.
Yeah.
So I think there's a couple reactions that are going to look real interesting. With Toro is, how do the people who put their cars on there react? And how do they act as a corporation?
Yeah, because that's what I was about to say from a legal perspective. Does this?
What would you have done? You think you would have seen either of these people? Hey, military. Okay, you valid license.
Yeah, nothing that would check out to say otherwise.
I mean, what would have stopped this person from doing the same at Hertz?
Yeah.
What would have stopped them,
very true.
At Avis? So I think, Toro's access makes it a little bit easier, especially in these cases. In this case, these 2 cases, but they are in a pickle because I don't know if they have the same protections as a rental car company, as a Hertz or an Avis does.
See, that's what I was thinking. Are these families of the potentially deceased and those that have been injured, could they legally come after Toro? I don't know.
Can they? We'll find out. Will they?
Definitely
probably most definitely they'll go after Toro in some capacity. I don't know how it will land.
Yeah.
So I think we'll have to kind of watch how that plays out. But they did not have a great start of the year.
Nah, man, and I think that with them looking at this, and again going back to what you stated, these two instances have raised concerns about extremist activity involving current and former
Yeah,
military personnel, prompting calls for enhanced measure to address this radicalization with the armed forces. And I think that is something that definitely needs to be put on high alert, because I don't think that it is no coincidence of the such that these two individuals were decorated military veterans, and
yeah,
that is a concern that needs to be addressed. And I pray, and I know that we don't know, but I just pray that this is not the start of something extreme that we're going
right.
to start seeing in this country. We've been blessed and fortunate to not necessarily have a lot of activity in our country in this area, and I certainly do not want it to start now. But I wonder, just with a different administration coming in, some of the things that may transpire that this administration may do. Will this lead to certain people feeling some way and reacting in a very radicalized way? I pray and hope not, because at the end of the day, we already have enough division
Yeah,
in this country. The last thing we need is to be attacking each other in a way that is just completely unnecessary and just harmful to who we are as a nation. So I hope that this is not the start of a pattern, and I hope that whatever resources we have as a country that is able
yeah.
to kind of sift and find and see some of maybe the potential warning signs of these things to come. I'm hoping those things are being utilized at its highest degree to prevent some of these things from going on, if it's at all possible.
Well, and I think that's where it's also going. The conversation post this is going to get real interesting
Mm-hmm.
because we saw it in the wake of 9/11.
Uh huh.
Is how much of our freedom are we willing to give up in the name of security?
Mm.
We talk about that. People have talked about for the Patriot Act for years and how much freedom and how much power we've given, the NSA and the FBI and the CIA.
Yeah.
You know, how, I don't want to, come as far as saying, well, the government needs to be looking at everyone's internet search history. Well, that I'm not giving that up.
Yeah.
For the sake of security at this point, from a mass standpoint, not without a warrant. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So that's I think what we also have to look at and watch that debate evolve is about how much of our freedoms are we willing to give up in the name of security
Yeah.
that we don't necessarily have to.
Yeah. I agree. I think that conversation and that realization of what that looks like needs to come to fruition more sooner than later.
And we're in spin games, so we'll see how
Yeah.
how both of these attacks are spun. But I think the Las Vegas one could have also been a whole lot worse.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Just sitting your truck outside and then explode. One of the things I read is that due to how the Cybertruck is built, it was less dangerous than it could have been, because of that steel body kept the explosion kind of internal to the Cybertruck instead of
Okay.
really going out large like it could have been other things. So one thing I did also see immediately from this is apparently Elon Musk called up the Las Vegas Police Department and was like, here's all the information we have on that particular Cybertruck.
Yeah, bro.
So
I see. That's wild,
like,
bro.
I'm like,
Tony Stark, bro.
like, how much data are you really capturing when I'm riding in this Tesla?
Bro, I thought the same thing. Like, it's like a computer on wheels, man. Like,
Right,
for
it
real.
is. It's a giant computer on wheels.
Giant computer on wheels, man. And it's just whatever you do in it. I bet it can tell you how long you've been sitting there, what the temperature of your butt is. Bro, like it can give you all types of data. But shout out to Elon, bro. The Tesla Cybertruck, as much as it looks like a stainless steel refrigerator riding down the store. I saw one today.
Oh, they don't made them out there yet?
Oh, bro,
No?
I seen an all black one, and I ain't gonna front. That joint was clean, bro. Like, I'm talking about like liquid black clean. Bro,
Look, some of these raps that they're doing on these Cybertruck, I'm like, that goes hard. I
Yes,
couldn't
sir.
drive it. I couldn't. That couldn't be my everyday car.
Yeah.
But I could definitely pop out.
I thought about renting me one on Toro, but I think that might be old Paul's. I think I'm gonna stay away from Toro for a little bit. I'm gonna let the spot. I'm gonna let the spot get a little less hot.
Right, just a little bit. Just a
Just a
little
little
bit.
bit. So yeah, man. Hopefully, this will not be the start of something in this country. But those are the details that we have on the New Year Day incidents that took place. And again, as I said before, condolences to those families that have lost loved ones and those that are injured. Prayerfully, you will have a speedy recovery. And you'll heal to your most wanted and needed help. So, with that being said, we'll jump to our next topic and something a little less damaging and
But is it? But is it?
yeah, I mean it's trading the devil for the witch, you know. On January the 3rd, we had a interesting vote take place. First of all, on the 3rd was the day that the new Congress came back in, and those individuals were sworn in by Vice President Harris. But immediately after that, they got to work. And Representative Mike Johnson was up for voting as Speaker of the House of Representatives, and he was re-elected, securing a minimum 218 votes required for his position. Now, the vote again, it was barely. He barely made the cut. 218 is what you need, and 218 is what he got. But he did receive exactly 218 with all 215 Democrats supporting their leader, Hakeem Jeffries. And I'm not gonna lie. Now I knew it wasn't gonna happen, but I've been also dealing with Manny too long. I was looking at the numbers, and I was like, is it possible that Hakeem could get to 218? Because
No,
there was a couple of Republicans that had voted other. But I again, that's the watching the game type of feeling that you're like, I was hoping Hakeem was gonna get like 217. I was gonna be like, oh boy, this is interesting.
boy.
But it had that happen, you probably would have seen Trump walk in the chambers like
Personally, be like, hey, no, y'all,
him and,
y'all.
him and President-elect Musk would have walked in there like, hey.
Y'all chill out.
Now, in the voting, there were 3 Republicans that held out initially, and that was Representative Massey, Norman, and Self opposing Johnson's reelection. But there was, Big Daddy Orange had to make a call.
Well, and I'm gonna be real. When he made that call earlier this week and said, "Hey, I'm endorsing, Johnson for Speaker,"
yeah,
I thought a lot of this was going to be put to rest. I thought this was going to go through pretty smooth, but then in day before the 3rd, the 2nd is what that would be the day.
Yeah,
before
I was about to say the 2nd.
The 2nd. I'd been hearing and reading up some places like, hey, this is going to be tight. And I was like, yeah, but we still don't know what happened in that room.
We don't.
So for those of you who were not watching as intently as Jeezy and I, the vote landed, I think it was like, 216, 215, and then, 216 for the Republicans, 215 for the Democrats, and 3 were listed as other.
Yep.
And it looked like they got through all the votes, and they didn't actually slam the gavel down to say the vote was closed. So then everyone rallied to their corners, and then people started having conversations. And I believe it was Trump that had to call directly, Representative Norman and Self, and essentially say, "Hey, y'all, let's get with the program."
Yeah.
Everyone keeps saying that, hey, Johnson didn't go in there and negotiate anything, and that's great. I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either.
That's not how this works.
No.
One of the things that did come out is, and I think was really good, is that the threshold to throw out the Speaker of the House has been raised from 1 to 9.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
that needed to
okay,
happen.
good. it didn't need to be there in the first place.
Which I think I heard a report that the conservatives, which I believe may have come from the Freedom Caucus,
Yeah.
wanted it to be 5. So you know, 9 I feel like is ideal. 5 is better than 1, but I think that 9 is a fairly decent number, and I think a lot of the issue that has been coming as far as opposition, which is crazy to me, is that Johnson is known to be quite conservative, but a lot of the conservatives, especially from the Freedom Caucus, believe that they were not being heard as much as they would have liked or what they may have been promised to be. I believe they wanted some positions, according to, I believe, even like the ruling committee. They wanted to chair the ruling committee, and Johnson was like, "Yeah, I ain't doing that." So I'm interested to see, you know, when it comes to him saying that no deals were made. Once these things start playing out, I'm wondering, okay, is the individual going to be chairing that committee?
We gonna find some stuff, but like. I to the point you brought up, there is a vast difference between what you do as a representative and then what you do as having to actually lead this body.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, no matter if you're a Republican or Democrat, if you're Republican, you're not going to be conservative enough as a speaker. As a Democrat, you will never be liberal enough as a speaker. But you're trying to move this legislative body of both parties. And, you know, I was telling Jeezy this, but I think Dems might have misplayed this a little.
Yeah.
I think we knew at the end of the day, and who knows, you know, some of this could have been in play for second and third and fourth votes.
Yeah.
But Jeezy, let me tell you what I would have done if I was a Dem. I'd have looked over there and saw that they needed a couple votes, and I'd have walked over to Hakeem and been like, "Hey, Hakeem, I'm getting ready to go vote for Johnson," and let him be upset and let the rest of the Dems be upset. But I think there was an opportunity for them to get some kind of leverage.
Yeah.
And then also simultaneously shutting down that crazy crowd.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
you really would have pissed some people off, didn't you?
Oh yeah. No, like,
on both sides.
So I'm like, so now as a Dem, you know, I'm showing that I'm willing to come and work with Republicans. Yes, that's because that's how politics works. If you actually want to get stuff done.
Exactly.
But I think one or two of them, especially Dems that won in seats that were barely blue or could have been red, that'd been a great opportunity to give them something they can take back.
Yep.
To the people who don't traditionally align with them, but that could have also moved from them. I think you saw in the whole day that there was a lot of discussion about working together. What was very clear to me is that Speaker Johnson very subtly, at least from my standpoint, drew a line in the sand.
Yeah.
In regards to immigration. I think that line is, hey, we're going to focus on not immigrating. That's not the word I'm looking. Deporting those who are criminals. But the way he gave that comment, it sounded like that's where we're stopping. We're not, which is going to do wonders for the economy because of the impact of all of that happening. Yeah. So I think that was a very, very defined line of where they needed to get. So, but pressure,
man, look,
pressure.
And I think this is signs of the challenges that will go ahead, because as we all know, there's a narrow majority, with it being 219 to 215. And I think you made some mention of it before, that number is going to be a little bit less with some things that are coming up.
Yeah, because you got Matt Gaetz, Elise Stefanski, and Mike Waltz. That he actually has a T and Z for our people who listen. Mike Waltz, who will all be leaving Congress. Stefanski and Waltz leaving to go join the cabinet, where what essentially will happen is new elections will be scheduled for those seats. And he is going to have probably a 1-vote majority in the House. And that is going to be hard.
That's tough.
he's going to be in a pickle. He's going to
Yeah.
either have to cut deals with the Democrats or cut
Yeah.
deals with the far right, and I don't know who wins.
Now, I think that he has done it at least on one accord, where he has made a deal with Democrats to be able to get some support on some things in his narrow majority. But when you have opposition of, the three that held out, and then essentially Massey maintaining his opposition, this definitely may turn into a pickle situation. And I wonder, and the one thing about Massey that I that's kind of a notice to me, is that there's still people that aren't completely on the bandwagon of Trump. There's still some people, and that it doesn't matter if Trump called and said, "Look, you need to get on board with this." We know of one person that's like, "Nah, it is what it is."
I think with Massey, I don't think it was the issue. Well, the issue was directly with Johnson.
Yeah.
It was from a very principled stand.
Yeah.
Like, I get that.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see how the rest of this kind of plays out. I mean, you do have the Freedom Caucus use this really as an opportunity to kind of flex a little. They're like, hey, you need all of us.
Yep.
And that's why I think some of the Dems hopping in to be like, well, maybe they don't need y'all. Maybe they just need some of us. It'll be interesting. And I think the other thing to watch amidst all of this is those new elections, because in Stefanski's seat, that is a very competitive seat. So there is an opportunity for Dems to be able to flip that seat. And what we could be watching there is one of the most expensive House races in a while. Because you're talking about really going after margins and whatnot. So yeah,
that could be something interesting, man. We will definitely have to keep our eye on it. I will make a note though for Johnson that he survived the first round of votes. He didn't have to, like you said before, the gavel hadn't struck. So this is not where he had to go back and re-vote. Which I'm gonna be honest with you, from watching it, I'm thankful that I didn't have to watch it. That's a call to all those people names out, man. And shout out to the lady that was, I don't know her name, but the lady that was calling out all of their names, because she didn't mess up on a single name. And I know if that was me,
I'd have messed it all up.
Oh, somebody's name is either getting mispronounced, or I'm gonna forget my place on the card and I'm gonna miss calling somebody, and it's gonna have to be like when you go to church and you get Holy Communion. They say, did anybody get omitted? Yeah, I don't omit about 5 people, bro. My bad. I lost my place on the sheet.
Bro, I would have called out multiple. Mr. Wilder, you read out 500 names. I'm sorry. I said the guy from North Carolina 3 times because I kept missing the name and didn't want to skip. Yep, that'd have been me too.
Yep. So shout out to her, man, for getting it done, man. It's always cool to see how smooth of a process that these people are like. They're ready to just do like what you think is just voting, and this, such a normal type thing of doing the business of Congress, and they hit these individuals that are in place that just do their job so flawlessly. So I gotta shout out them, man. So but luckily Johnson didn't have to go to a second ballot, and it was handled on the first. So kudos to him. That might be potentially the easiest voting.
It will not might be. That will probably be the easiest vote he takes and deals with, at least in the next 2 years.
Yep. So I hope that he enjoys it. Yep. Because it's about to be a little rougher from here. So with that being said, we are at our segment, which is our favorite time of the episode. I was going to say the year. But it seems like there's always a time in the year that this takes place, and that is our pickle of the week.
We've got your pickle. We've got your pickle. We've got your pickle.
All right, man.
Who's first in the brine this year?
Our first pickle of season 2, episode 1 is not a person, but it could be for anybody. And that pickle of the week is anyone that is traveling in the area of Manhattan, New York. It is reported that on yesterday, Sunday, that there will now be a $9 toll charge. Basically, I'm
Bro, both
assuming
way?
Bruh, I'm assuming it's both ways. It's a congestion charge that they will be charging everyone that will be traveling into, and I'm assuming out of Manhattan. So $18. It is not, and this is not an impact of the ones driving. They're in a pickle too, having to pay that. But also, all the public transportation's in a pickle too. Because if people stop, well, I ain't driving. I'm just gonna get on the train, or I'm gonna get on the metro, or whatever they have. Now that's congested. So now the whole transportation. So that's the pickle. The whole transportation system of Manhattan is in a pickle.
Oh no! So I went to look this up. So
Okay.
it's $9 if you have an Easy Pass. If you don't have an Easy Pass, it's $13.50. Oh no! It gets. And that, so it is $9 weekdays from 5 a.m. to 9 p.m. and weekends 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. overnight. So if you try to peel off, try to slide it.
Hold on. Overnight, bro. They charge you overnight too?
It's $225 with an Easy Pass and $330 without.
Jeez, bro. So they don't want nobody traveling to Manhattan.
They say this traffic.
Bruh, the whole transportation system is in a pickle because New York people already are aggressive and get upset quick. So
Look,
I
man,
know they punching air and cussing out.
I've driven in New York City once.
Wow.
And if I never have to do it again, it will still
that
be
bad, bro?
too soon. Like it's an aggressiveness that like
is it worse than DC?
Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
Because like I feel like only certain lanes in DC get aggressive. Like if you say over here, it's not going to be too bad. Nah, it was just like every place, and I'm like,
wow.
And it's not my car I was driving, so I was just like,
yeah.
I was like, nope. If I don't have to drive here in New York ever again, I don't plan on it.
So if anybody that is a listener of the pod and you're in New York in the Manhattan area, you'd like to give us a call. Let us know how the first week of this congestion toll. Let us know how the people of New York feel about this. And we certainly will have you come on the pod and air out your grievances.
Because let me tell you who's about to be real upset. Mm-hmm. There's at least 2 or 3 people that are out there that have completely forgot this is happening, and they just driving into Manhattan all nice and chill, like whatever.
Yep.
In February, they're gonna get that bill.
Yep.
They're gonna be livid.
Bro, I remember when I was traveling somewhere and I got that toll. I'm like, I didn't even know where I went. There was even bro, where did this come from? I'm like, okay, definitely about to be somebody that's gonna forget that the toll has started. So, and I feel bad because by the time you hear this episode,
it's too late.
If you what does Drake say? If you're reading this, it's too late. If you're listening to this, it's too late. The toll has already started. Go ahead and expect that you got at least $9 or $18 already charged that's in the mail coming your way. So
at least.
So that is my pickle of the week, man. That the whole transportation system of Manhattan is in a pickle. So, with that being said, we are at the conclusion of our episode, and you guys know that at the conclusion of the episode, we have our spotlight of the week. So, Manny, what we got for a spotlight this week, man?
Man, well, geez, I'm about to do it to you again. I got 2. One we've prepped for, the other one we did not prep for. So, all right, we'll start with the one that we've prepped for. So earlier this week, Joe Biden, again, with his final, and we're not talking about his pardons of the people on death row. We're not talking about that. But he actually stepped in. He blocked Japan's $14 billion takeover of U.S. steel on national security grounds. So if you guys haven't been watching or really paying attention to this, there was a $14.9 billion acquisition set up by Japan's Nippon Steel. I think I'm saying that right. For them to buy U.S. Steel. So if you guys don't know U.S. Steel, U.S. Steel was a steel company that was started by Andrew Carnegie. I said his name like that because I think that's the like correct official way, and not Carnegie as I've been taught. But that's his company.
Okay.
But basically, they blocked it because there was concerns that foreign ownership of a major American steel producer could threaten critical supply chains and national defense. I mean, and that's fair. Like, let's say for some reason we decide to pop off to war with Japan, and U.S. Steel is a Japanese country. Well, they're not going to make steel for us.
Yeah.
So I think it makes sense. And following that, U.S. Steel shares dropped 6%. And people within the company were like, "Hey, there could be closing up some of the mills." But this decision was thumbs up by a lot of people, especially with the unions, because of their ability they saw long term with being able to negotiate better deals with them.
Yeah.
So that is a spotlight.
Now, I when we talked about this earlier, and Manny was informing me of some of the details of this. The funny comical thing about this to me was that the U.S. doesn't want Japan to own the company U.S. Steel, but we don't buy steel, or at least majority of our steel, from U.S. Steel, but we buy it overseas. So you don't want an overseas company to own us, but you won't buy steel from us either. And Manny's response was pretty much.
That's where we're at.
So if I'm U.S. Steel, I'm kind of peeved, because what do you want me to do if you won't buy from me? I can't be bought by a foreign company. That sounds like we're just here just to, basically fizzle out. And like Manny said, the shares have dropped. Investors are concerned over the company's future without any anticipated investment. So pretty soon, you may hear on one of the future episodes of the pod that U.S. Steel may end up being the pickle of the week. So
right.
U.S. Steel, I'm putting you on notice. You might be a pickle.
And this is not the only time, Trump blocked several deals.
Yeah.
Especially around semiconductors and other, crucial technology.
Yeah.
On the list there. Oh God, I gotta find it. Hold on. I'm digging through my list. There was another sale, interesting, blocked in 2020. The Chinese firm Canulum Tech. They were trying to buy the app Grinder,
Bruh.
and it was stopped because there was concerns that user data, including sensitive personal information, could be exploited.
Oh, bro, I'm not even gonna make a joke.
But so we've seen it before, and with I think with Trump and we're looking into a larger America first kind of policy standpoint. What does this mean about foreign investment moving forward? Is the U.S. government's going to stop a lot of foreign investing and owning of companies here? What does that investment look like long term?
Well, if it's supposed to be America first, but we won't buy American steel, then I'm kind of confused on what America first means. But hey, I guess I'll find out.
We'll figure it out, man.
We'll figure it out along the way. And what's the surprise? What I got? I'm excited.
Second one. Boys, so you know how the kid has been on here ranting about our bills being too big. And how many Republicans have been telling, like, hey, we need just single issue bills.
Yeah.
Well, apparently in a closed door meeting, Johnson told Republicans that Trump wants one big policy bill.
Oh, God.
He wants it all scooped up into one. So
he ain't gonna read it.
all the border, the energy, and tax policies in a single bill.
No. Bro, we just talked about this. Trump ain't listening to the pod, man. That's the problem.
Donnie, Donnie,
You
we
gotta
are
tap
here.
in, man.
We gotta
Look, you don't have
take-
to. You don't have to read. Just listen to what we telling you.
Right.
It's easy, bro. Why would we do that? Elon and Vivek, y'all. That's that. Y'all need the Department
It's
of
your
Government
boys.
Efficiency. Y'all need. That's not efficient. That's not gonna work. We don't need to do, bro. That we do not
I
need to do that.
Here's why I think Trump wants to do it. He wants his Obamacare. He wants his big title,
Big shiny. Trump
his
Accords.
crown. Right. Right. He's looking for, I think he's looking for that big spike of the ball. Like, this is what I did, and it did all of this.
This kind of, I don't know why this feels like in the Avengers movie where they had the Sokovian Accords and like it just like split the Avengers up. Like, bro, we don't need the Trump Accords, bro.
I mean, look, look, we'll save some of this for post pod. But yeah, man, this is why. So one large bill,
Just one sweeping motion to get just.
Well,
just
and
get
the problem
180.
is, it's going to be. Let's say they do it. It's going to. First of all, it's going to be huge.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have to negotiate it. And and you're talking about having margins as slim as one and
he's
two
gonna take
people.
half of his term trying to get that bill passed.
And he only got really 2 years to do it with this Congress.
Yeah. Bro,
So,
matter of fact, go ahead and do it. So then you give us some content at the pod when y'all start breaking this thing down.
Right.
We got something to deliver some content to the people. But yeah, that's wild, bro.
So yeah, so that's the other spotlight, and the other one, the last piece, while not fully a spotlight, it's something that both Jeezy and I are keeping our eyes on. The Senate is getting ready to be back for its first full week, so we're hoping to get a real schedule of these confirmation hearings because I need to put in my PTO,
bro. Because as of right now, there's only one person on the schedule, and
he may not even make it.
He may not even make it, and you are aware, and I was said it to Manny when we were doing pre-show production, is that if Trump wants his people in place on day one, this don't look like day one activity.
And we still got time.
We do.
Yeah.
But if this next week come up and this list don't look any different than what it looked now,
I would think that it would have to be.
I think it would have to be too, Manny. I mean, I think it would be crazy if it's not. But if somehow or another this list is still as bare as it is come Friday or Saturday, I'm scratching my head and wondering what are we doing here. So we're gonna keep our eye on it and see what happens. But hopefully we get some more. Cause like Manny said, I'm trying to take some time off and I'm trying to get my popcorn and my feet up, and I'm trying to watch every single second of the comedy that may come from these hearings. So with that being said, that is our spotlights of the week. So that is the end of our episode. Again, season 2, episode 1. So glad that you guys tuned in. Again, as we said before, Happy New Year. Appreciate you rocking with us in 2024, and I hope that you're just as excited as we are to get this thing rocking in 2025. So, man, you got anything for the people?
Man, you know, we know this giant cold snap is coming through the country, so everyone, you know, stay warm, checking on your friends, make sure you guys are all good heading into the new year. But like we always say, hey, if no one else out here loves you, just know the boys of the pod, we love y'all.
We love you. So that is the conclusion of our episode, guys. We will see you next week. So take care.
Bye, everyone.